Hello, welcome again. Thank you for being here. My name is Joe, and today I want to talk a little bit about fear and explore fear as it pertains to art and being an artist. Fear is an emotion. Fear is an emotion that arises when our brain perceives some sort of threat of harm, be it physical, emotional, psychological. And fear, even though it has a very like negative reputation, if you will, it's there to serve us, to protect us. It's the emotion of fear, and it's the triggering of that emotion that compels us to do something to avoid the perceived threat. And so I was thinking about this and thinking of how the fear manifests while we are in the practice of art, when we are creating, be it a drawing, a painting, whatever. Why do we feel fear in what appears to be a very safe situation? What is triggering that emotional response during the practice, and what does it say, or how can it like inform ourselves? And so I was thinking about this, and you'll understand why in a second, because I brought a practical example to show you. I guess my conclusion was that we are not afraid of drawing, obviously, or doing whatever it is that we create. I feel like we are afraid of being seen. And what do I mean by that? I think everyone wants to be seen to some extent. We all want to be acknowledged by our peers, be it artistically or just like individually. It's like wired for people to search community and to want to be involved with each other. And so I feel like the fear emerges because we want to be seen, but we don't want to be totally seen. We don't want to be seen failing or, like fumbling or being cringe. We want to be seen in such a way where the perception of us is ideal. And I feel like this is a very normal fear to have, especially um, in the social media landscape we all live in, because we are all wired to longing to belong to communities, and rejection and the fear of rejection, which is where I'm getting at, you know it pulls at that desire, that very like human desire. And everyone knows that rejection is painful. It hurts. It makes us feel unpleasant. It makes us doubt our worth and our value. And it shuns us away from community, which is what, a lot of people are looking for. And because art has that like very primordial feeling of connection, we connect through the art we make, through showing it, through making it, we connect with others, we connect with ourselves. And so art having that kind of power, I guess, uh it also exposes that possibility of being seen. The art I do might show you something my conscious is not ready to show you. And ultimately I feel that's why our brains are led to finding ways to stop us from taking the steps to do the things we want to do, because they might put us in what it perceives to be a threatening environment, a vulnerable environment. And the brain itself, I feel, is just doing its job, is just protecting us. But that's where the fear arises, and the fear then prevents us from maybe exploring other parts of our practice in ourselves. For me personally, I noticed that the fear translates in a lot of like anxious, negative, like thought spirals. Even the piece that I'm showing in the background, which is what kind of kickstarted this art rant, I wanted to draw something. I wanted to draw a scene. I was listening to this song that talked about the Columbina and Harlequin and Pierrot story, and I felt compelled to draw it because I like clowns and I like, uh, you know, the imagery, and I wanted to explore it. However, I noticed as soon as I started to draw, I started to have thoughts about how I am not ready to make this piece. I haven't practiced enough for this piece. People have pointed out in the past that I'm not really good at drawing environments and showing depth in my drawing, so maybe I shouldn't do that. Because, again, the perceived rejection of a component of my art, I'm insecure about it. And it was showing. I was drawing with fear, I was drawing slower, I was going back and forth in my decisions, not because that's what the art asked of me, because that's what my fear was telling me to do. And at some point, I guess I started to notice that I didn't want to work on this piece anymore. It started to be dreading. Because I had this idealized outcome that I knew I couldn't reach. And so the process became about the result instead of the present moment of drawing it. And I feel that all of what this really does is reinforce negative self beliefs that I have about myself and my insecurities as an artist. And it sucks. And it sucks. But do you see like how it makes it so that your brain successfully curbed the fearful situation? You won't finish that piece, right? Unless you really, push. uh you don't, and I wasn't going to finish that piece. If it wasn't for this video, this piece would be in my archive folder. So, and so I avoided continuing to feel that emotion because I stopped. And so fear becomes almost this like masqueraded emotion because it just seems logical, it seems practical, sometimes even beneficial, because okay, I don't finish this piece and I can go to the next one and I just put this emotion behind me and I feel better. So it feels better. So what to do if you don't want your art to be controlled by your fears and your art insecurities? And I guess what I'm trying to do, because I don't want to tell anyone what to do, but what I think of doing, at least for me, what works is to sit down and talk with my art ego. And, what is art ego? What is ego in and of itself? And ego is such a big word, it has so many definitions. Some people, like the dictionary will tell you that ego is someone's ego is their sense of worth, of own worth. If you read Freud, you'll get a different definition of ego, the thing between id and the superego. If you read Carl Jung, it will be, the I between the self and the persona. And all of these are definitions that I would love to research more and get more into. But for this video, I want to kind of sit on a more spiritualistic approach, and kind of see the ego in terms of self and perceived identity. So, ego as a construction of the self and not an expression of what's inside us, right? It's our consciousness trying to make sense and not so much the consciousness itself. And when it portrays to art, I guess it's concepts of self in art, obviously. And what do I mean by that? What I'm trying to say is that we are not the labels we create for ourselves. We don't have to create a box to fit in. And I feel like that art ego that tries to give us some, because it's also trying to protect us. It's that fear. It tries to give us some direction of what to do and how to do. And it starts to evaluate your art based on that perceived label. I am this. Therefore, I should be doing that. I should follow this path, this road. And it creates a safe way of interacting with your art. It reminds me, but it reminds me of that like Oscar Wilde sentence that when you know exactly what you want to become, you'll become it, and that's your punishment. And if you remain uncertain, you'll be free. Something like that. And it does make me wonder, right? What kind of art would I make if I didn't want to, if I let go of the feeling of safeness. What kind of art would I go if instead of acting in such a way that I avoid fear, I just went with it and accepted that that might mean my path is more uncertain, that I might not get as technically good as I once aspired to. And what if it means the opposite? What if it means, because what if it means that letting go of that fear and that ego leads me to places I can't even dream of right now? So while I was searching for this video, I also listened to, and I've listened to this speech like a million times now. I find it very comforting. The Jim Carrey commencement speech of 2014. And it says something along the lines, how tricky is the ego that it would tempt us with something we already possess? And so that's what I've been asking myself. What do I already possess as an artist, as a person? What is it that I can give to the world that's mine, or rather than mine, that's me? What can, how pure can I get to that like essence of creation, I suppose, without needing to let go of the things I strive for and admire, because I want to be good at art. I want to achieve mastery in the craft. But I also want to have the space to allow myself the freedom of expression that I know art can provide. Because drawing itself and the practice, creating, it can be a really useful discovery tool. How do I draw when I let go? How do I draw when I let go of my mind? What do I draw when I'm not trying to reach my goals, when I'm not trying to be good? What do I draw when the thoughts are just running? And what kind of thoughts do I have when I draw? What kind of reflections can come up from that? Those are, drawing as a vehicle of meditation can be really useful. Drawing as a means of expression can be really useful. And I feel like sometimes our fear reduces drawing to only its like technical or like manual abilities, and we forget the possibilities of wonder in drawing. And so I guess that's where my thoughts at. This last part of the video was a little ranty, and mostly because I don't have the solutions. The drawing that you're seeing right now, I made it last week, and I was super afraid the whole drawing. I wasn't abiding by the things I'm preaching right now, and I don't want to be a preacher. I just want to, you know, express my journey, where I'm at and what I'm doing, and yeah. So this is the thoughts of a 21-year-old chud trying to make sound of things, and that's all I can really provide right now, and that's okay. And yeah, and that's kind of where this is. My second video. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you around. Let me know what you think of this. And with that said, thanks again, and I'll see you around in the next video. Bye bye.